Hey, this is Bronze and Modern Gods. I'm John. Hey, that's Richard. What's going on?
Hey, John. I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm great. I'm ready to go. Another week, another show. We've got lots going on like every week we do. If you're not following us at Bronze and Modern Gods on Facebook and Instagram, why not? You should do so. You find some other content during the week to tide you over. If you haven't visited bronzeandmoderngods.com, you might want to do that and sign up for our email newsletter. Who knows what could come your way in the next few weeks? I don't even know. I just want you to sign up. And if you are listening to us on your favorite podcast platform, give us a like and write a review. And if you're watching us on YouTube, give us a like and subscribe. Tons of new people. Welcome, everybody. I don't know what we did last week. We struck a nerve, one of our bigger shows, and we've got lots of new subscribers. So we appreciate every one of you. So welcome. We've got hot books of the week, as always, our underrated books of the week, some viewer mail, the 25-year rule, and our main topic this week, conventions. They're actually back. People are having comic book conventions, and we have an on-the-scene report from our roving reporter, Richard. Are you excited about conventions?
I am so excited. Nothing beats the smell of a whole room full of comic book people, and
I don't know if people are what you want to smell.
No, seriously, it's. I'm really excited. The act of going through long boxes, I sorely miss.
Well, we're going to get a full report from Richard, including if the prices that we're seeing online are being reflected in real time at these shows when you're face to face, eyeball to eyeball with a dealer. Is anything changing? But let's get started with our hot book of the week. Hot books of the week, maybe? Let's start off with one of them we know is hot, and that is Berserker #1.
Yeah, Berserker #1 has a huge print run, 650,000 print run, which makes it definitely not a rare book, but it's a book that people have really gotten excited about.
Well, you know why the print run's so large? Because it was fully returnable from Boom. So as a retailer, you couldn't lose. If you just stocked up on everything and you wanted to get the 1 in 1,000, why not order 1,000 copies of it and then just send the 900 back you didn't sell?
I never thought of it that way. With 650,000, that means there's potentially 650 1 in 1,000s floating around out there, given that logic.
What do you think is driving this book? I think we all know, but I want to hear you say it.
It's got to be Keanu Reeves. Keanu Reeves has to be the darling of the hobby right now. He's came in. He did a main character in a game called Cyberpunk 2077, Johnny Silverhand, and he has a motorcycle line, which has some really cool looking motorcycles if you're into that. And he's now doing things like this. He picked up this project and he's co-writer on Berserker, this new comic book. So there's a lot of heat behind it because of that star name.
I would have loved for you to say, well, it's the art of Ron Garney, who is really talented. Because I love Ron Garney. He had a great run on Captain America in the 90s that I liked. And
pretty much, I think I could have drawn it, and they'd still sell 650,000 copies.
It's a good thing Ron Garney's on this book because it looks good. It's got a little Frank Miller to it. It's got a little John Romita Jr. when he used to be able to draw. There, I said it for all you people that are thinking that out there. But it doesn't hurt that Keanu Reeves is the main driver here, but the quality is right?
Yeah, it's I read the book. It's a good story. It is brutally violent, if I had to sum it up. It holds nothing back in either the art or the pace of the violence. If you're into that, it's definitely a book that you will be interested in. If you are squeamish in any way, I would not read this book.
Now, one thing that is driving this book is all the different variants. I mean, the variants are crazy, Richard.
Oh yeah, it's amazing how many store variants, store exclusive variants. You've got the 1 in 1,000 variant, you got the 1 in 100 variant. There are a lot of covers on this book.
Now, it's super violent, like you say, like good Sin City Frank Miller violent or gratuitous?
It's very graphic in its violence. To me, Sin City used violence as kind of a paintbrush to tell a story. This is using violence to show, hey, here's the inside of this guy's head. Yeah, it's that kind of violence, and it's almost casual in the way it's used to just kind of he just basically pushes his way through a crowd of people, literally, to get to his end goal. So it's very, very, very graphic, and I'm not
So,
saying it's bad. I mean, it definitely fits into the tone of the story. It's just not something for the squeamish.
so it's an anatomy textbook, is what you're saying.
Yeah, yeah, a lot of flying eyeballs and insides of people's heads and things like that. I'm interested to see. This is issue number 1, right? So I'm interested in seeing if they carry that through the entire series. Is this just an introduction, and therefore they're extra violent in the introduction to kind of set the tone,
Yeah.
and then they'll back off in later issues, or is this just going to be, it's just going to be gore for every single issue of this book? Either way, I mean, it could work out. It just depends on how it's written.
So there's some aftermarket action on this book already that you've seen.
Yes, the 1 in 1,000 version is actually an exclusive that is signed by Keanu Reeves. So if you're interested in the 1 in 1,000 and that signature, be prepared to pay anywhere from $2,000 to $3,000 for a copy of this book.
Please don't do that. I'm sorry. I have to jump in here as the old man. Buy a key, buy a Silver Age key, buy a low grade Fantastic Four 48 or something. Don't do this. Okay.
No.
All right. Let's say you do it and it's got a signature and you send it into CGC. What's going to happen?
You're going to get a qualified label because that signature was not verified by CG. It was not witnessed by CGC.
So I wonder if this is going to actually help CBCS a little bit, because I would send it there.
Yeah, I hope a lot of people are going to turn to CBCS just as an alternative to CGC. CGC is really, really backlogged right now, and we need to be able to spread the love when it comes to submissions for books. So if this is an impetus for that, then that's incredible.
To be super clear, we have no horse in this race. I do both companies, and we're not sponsored by either one, so don't worry about that. So Berserker 1 is really catching fire, and people are excited about it. The other book that seems to be on everyone's Instagram feed and seems to be getting a lot of press, I've got some serious thoughts about it, and that is a book by a company called Bad Idea, and it's ENIAC #1. I'm guessing that's how it's pronounced. It's Kane backwards, by the way, in case you were wondering.
I never thought of that. I always think ENIAC the computer. I never thought of Kane.
Sure that's what it is, but if you look backwards, it's Kane. So I don't know if that's a spoiler or anything. I haven't read it. You know why I haven't read it, Richard?
It's not out until the 17th.
No, I can't find a retailer that sells it in Southern California.
Well, that too.
Here are the problems with this book. No retailer in Southern Los Angeles County is on their store list. Now, what do I mean by that? This book is not distributed via Diamond or any typical comic book retailer. In order to carry the Bad Idea line of comics, you have to start an account as a retailer directly with Bad Idea. The equivalent of this, and I get it, is CBS starting their own app, or NBC starting Peacock, or something crazy like Sony Records starting their own Sony app instead of you being able to go to Spotify and listen to music. So I get the impetus behind this. Is it a smart move? Well, let's talk about it. If I can't find this book in Southern Los Angeles County, what about someone in, say, I don't know, Ohio, Richard?
Well, actually, there are a number of retailers here in Ohio that are carrying this book. You are required, when you actually solicit this book as a collector, you have to buy the entire run of the particular title. So I am signed up for ENIAC #1 through whatever the last issue is at this point.
Now, you gave me the opportunity to do that myself, and I just did it by reflex because of FOMO, right? I don't want to miss out. But let's say you're not me, you're not you, you're a younger person, you're in your early 20s, you only have so much disposable income. What if this book sucks? You're on the hook for issues 1 through 4. On top of this, you have to be an approved retailer. If you sell the book for above cover price, you are then banned by the company from carrying any more of their products. Now, you do realize that retailers sell variant covers above cover price every week.
Right. Every week.
You know, I kind of get where this company's trying to appeal to collectors, saying you shouldn't be paying over cover price. But what's happening? It's on eBay for what?
Oh, a couple $100 in some cases, absolutely, because there's no way they can stop a retailer from using an account that is not labeled as them to resell this book, or even for people who like you and me to take our pre-orders and then try to sell them on eBay.
As a retailer, you're not allowed to sell it above cover price for 30 days. But here's the thing. The first print shipped the same time as what they're calling not the first print. They're not calling it a second print. So, Richard, my brain's going to explode. As a retailer, and if you're like this kind of sneaky person, you fulfill your pre-orders, you keep some, you hold them for 30 days, then you put up on eBay. Who cares? And then the not the first print is unlimited. They're not stopping it. They're going to make as many as people order. So this book is just all over the place when it comes to the marketing. The marketing. I do this for a living. I'm a marketer for a living. This Studio 54 type approach, if you don't know what that is, kids, please go Google it, where only certain people can be left behind the velvet rope, and the chosen ones can order this, and the chosen customers can experience this book. It goes right down to their website. Look at the email sign up that we're going to put up here from their website. Bad Idea is coming soon to a comic book store near you, if you're in the right place. Ooh, Richard, are you in the right place?
It's a marketing technique of scarcity, and they're trying to drum up that fear of missing out. And I have to say it's a technique that has not been used recently in the comic book industry, but it's definitely an effective one. We're sitting here talking about it.
Yeah, but is it good for the long haul? That's the thing. If you're looking for what I suspect this company is, seeing who's behind it and what they've done in the past, it looks like they want to make a lot of noise real quick so they can go to potential studios and say, look at our property, look at how popular it is, it's sold out, we've got all this demand, you guys need to make a movie. It seems very cynical to me. You know, screw the comic book collectors. You know, they are means to an end for us to get a studio deal.
I agree.
Yeah.
It's very, very manipulative, not only of the comic book collector, and that's who it's targeting. These tactics are targeting the collector, not necessarily the person who just casually goes in and reads comics. But yeah, it's manipulating the market in a way to drum up that buzz that they can then turn around and then use to leverage the property in other venues, you know, be it movies or TV shows or what have you. And as you say, I really don't think that's good for the industry, for the comic book industry. It's kind of, you're burning the village to behind you kind of tactics, where you don't really care about what you leave behind as much as what you gain from the audience.
That is a great way to put it. It's very, very short-term thinking. Long-term, I haven't seen one review of this book. I haven't seen anyone post anything about, wow, what a great story, excellent art. This has got me excited to read the next issue. It's all, look what I got. Look what I got, and look what it's selling for on eBay. That's all anybody is talking about from this book. If I'm wrong, let me know in the comments. Happy to read them. But if I were the writer or the artist, I'd be pissed. I want my work to be seen by as many fans as possible, and to have this whole velvet rope, only you get to see this, Richard, not John, is really exclusive in the worst sense of the word exclusive. And I don't think it's going to be looked at very favorably long term. Bottom line, are your books any good? How are we supposed to know? Are you proud of them? Do you want people to see them? Or is this a big secret and you're going to get your money and get your Hollywood deal and say sayonara?
Yeah, let's say it's early March 2021. In 2022, when we do our early March show, let's see if people are still talking about Bad Idea as a company, let alone this ENIAC book.
Well, it's interesting. The two books we're talking about in this section, you've got Berserker, which Boom Studios made 100% returnable. They obviously believed in this book and wanted retailers to carry it as many copies as possible. They wanted it in as many readers' hands as possible, collectors' hands as possible, and they got a really good result from it. And then you have this other end of the thing where they just take a different marketing tactic, and I'm all for eating crow, you know that. One of the main things I've learned as I get older is to admit when I'm wrong, and to own it. But I just don't see it.
No, it's we talked last week about things being built on a solid foundation or on a house of of straw. I really don't see there being much solid foundation underneath. They've not taken the opportunity to build that. So who knows? I mean, it could be runaway success on its own merits. But at this point, it looks more like a flash in the pan.
Hey, there's no argument here. It is a success. It's sold out. It's got them their money. Collectors are selling it on the secondary market for hundreds of dollars. Is it going to be hundreds of dollars in your collection 5 years from now? The people behind this were responsible for the Bloodshot movie.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, you got it right there in that one sentence.
All I'm going to say, I know that they're very vocal on social media. I know they're very active on social media. You want to come on here and defend it? Come on, let's do it. I'm ready. I'm open-minded.
Yep, absolutely.
All right, let's move on to viewer mail this week. Richard, what do you have?
You've got mail.
Okay, I've got a comment left by Fred Bruno. Terrific show, guys. Do you think the Bronze Age 9.6 is the next frontier in this crazy market? The spread between 9.8 and 9.6 values is so wide. What do you think? Are we going to see this gap close due to sales? That's a really interesting question because 9.8s have traditionally held the top of the market, and there's a significant gap between 9.8 and 9.6 in a lot of titles. Sometimes I don't know if that gap necessarily is justified. Sometimes I may end up buying 2 or 3 9.6s for the cost of a single 9.8. So what Fred is asking here is that gap going to close? So if a particular book is $1,000 for a 9.8 and $500 for a 9.6, are we going to see that 9.6 inch up to, let's say, $750, kind of close the gap? That definitely for certain titles, I could see that happening, just because of the scarcity of 9.8s. I'm thinking specifically of books like Amazing Spider-Man number 300. 9.8s are only 5% of the market. So if you want a high-grade book and you can't afford that 9.8, the 9.6 is your next choice. And as more people turn to that, the supply and demand will drive the price up. So I could see certain books where that gap will decrease. But a lot of times that gap is there for market reasons or availability of the book. If there are a lot of copies of that book on the market, 9.8s, that gap between the 9.8 and the 9.6 just may stay there because there's so many choices to go to a 9.6. So yeah, I really think it's title dependent, but I do see there being a movement on those 9.6s and closing the gap. What do you think?
Don't
John?
forget about human nature too. I've got a 9.6. I'm going to eventually upgrade to a 9.8. That thought's always going to be in the back of your head.
Yeah, it used to be in mine. I've settled. I guess you're right because I call it settling. I've decided that in some titles, 9.6 is fine for me. I've got a 9.6 Star Wars Clone Wars, number 1 with the variant cover. It was a choice between, am I going to sink $3,800 into a 9.8, or am I going to spend $1,800 on a 9.6 and have $2,000 basically in my pocket? I chose in that case to do the 9.6, and I don't regret that choice. I think it was a good choice. The value of both books have gone up steadily, and the ratio of the increase in that value has been constant. So I think I made a good choice in that point. And again, I have that other $2,000 to do something else with.
Yeah, I also think it's not going to be a hard and fast rule. I think, like you said, if a book is plentiful in 9.8, that 9.6 is always going to suffer. If that book is a giant size X-Men #1 or an X-Men 94 where 9.8s are just so astronomical, yeah, that 9.6 is going to creep up a bit. So good question and good discussion. Meanwhile, Matt Hexamer, which sounds like a secret agent. I like that. Matt Hexamer writes, Thunderbolts is completely underrated. I agree, Matt. That reveal at the end of issue 1 was the last great surprise in comics before the internet. I'm telling you, I don't spoil it for anybody. I mean, it's a 25-year-old book, but still, I'm not gonna spoil it.
I think the secret's out after 25 years.
Yeah, but it's amazing. And thank you for that comment and for that reassurance of my belief in Thunderbolts as a good spec. And AZ Boom 2020 ! Writes, I remember buying a giant size X-Men #1 when I was 13 years old in 1983 for $62, and I thought that was a ton of money then. That thing is blowing up. You know what? That was a good investment. You had to sit on it for a few years.
That's part of the fun of this hobby. You buy something that you love, and then you're validated after some period of time. In this case, 30 years. You're validated in your taste. Basically, that $68 now is potentially a $4,000, $5,000 book, and you have every right to feel justified.
And I bet you bought it at a comic book convention too, which is our main topic this week. Look at that. Comic book conventions, they're coming back. Things are starting to become normal-ish. People are getting protected, and they're getting all sorts of shots to protect themselves, and things are reopening across the country, some more than others. One of those places that's reopening a little bit more than where I'm at in California is Ohio, where Richard is. And Richard went to his first comic book convention in over a year in beautiful Westlake, Ohio.
Bucolic Westlake, Ohio.
Beautiful and bucolic Westlake, Ohio. And did you find a giant size X-Men #1? Was anyone selling anything? What are the prices compared to what we're seeing on these crazy internet sales? Richard, take it away.
It is morning of the convention, and I have started to get ready, getting my equipment ready. I always bring a nice backpack. This one here happens to be a backpack that Jim Lee was selling a couple years ago. Also, Torpedo Comics had these available. It's a nice backpack in that it's specifically designed, the interior of it is designed to hold slabs. It's the right size for slabs, raw books, but I'd never put a raw book in here by itself. It's got all kinds of nice pockets. I have one of these nice comic boxes. I put my name on it and my telephone number just in case we get separated. But in here you can put 10 raws, keep them safe inside of the backpack. I also carry a phone charger so I can charge my phone just to make sure that my phone makes it through the day. A bottle of water you can put in the pockets here. I also make the most important thing that I do is I make a list of what I'm looking for, what books are important to me, because the first half hour, 45 minutes of any show when you walk through those doors are chaotic. And for me to remember that I need to look for, a book that's on my list, I prefer to have that reminder. Okay, here we are in the car, heading out. Now, the show is about 30 minutes from where I live. So, the show starts at 10. I'm leaving the house here at 8:30, mainly because I'm expecting a line, and I'd like to be at the beginning of the line. I always want to try to be there, be the first one to look at the wall books to see if there's anything that I'm interested in or any good deal. So, try to be early so you can get to the front of the line. Okay, we are here. There are a couple different ways. Well, there's many different ways of going through a convention. Myself, I prefer to hit all the high spots. So I'm going to go in, immediately go to each of the different vendors and check out what they have on the wall. So I'm going to go around that first. So it's going to be a pretty quick circuit. And if I see anything good, I'll pick it up then. If not, then I'll go back around to the beginning and I'll start going more in detail, seller by seller, looking through long boxes, asking questions, kind of giving them what I'm looking for. And if I find something good, I'm not afraid to negotiate. I've brought cash. Cash is the great equalizer. People will typically be more flexible with their prices if you have hard currency. So I brought an envelope full of money. My philosophy in bringing money to a convention is never have it all in one spot. Separate it. I put some money in my wallet, and then I put an envelope in my backpack. So one, I'm not tempted to spend it all. That's one of the resistances. But also, if for some reason you were to lose your backpack or something, you still have some cash on you to do what you need to do. So I always tend to carry cash into. Oh, also, you never want to show everybody how much money you brought, because that may not be the best idea. So by segmenting your money, you kind of obfuscate the amount of money you brought. But anyway, so we're here. Here's Forrest. Say hi, Forrest.
Hello.
So what do you think of the show so far?
It's been good. I've gotten a couple of these. I'm not up to 14 copies yet, but I'm trying.
Yeah, he's been sniping some good stuff. And one of the advantages of getting here early is a lot of wall books.
And hopefully a 9/8 candidate.
Yeah, that looks really nice. Yeah, so far the stuff I've seen you pick up has been really, really cool.
Yes, and I got let's see what else. The UF4.
The UF4.
Second print. Godzilla 1. A German reprint. Daredevil
Awesome.
1. And then, of course, another one of these. So.
I have infected my friends. That's definitely happening.
Yeah.
Well, awesome. Yeah, the crowd here is amazingly big.
Yeah, there are people waiting outside. They're not letting everybody in. There's too many people here. So.
Right. So I'm afraid to leave because I may not be able to get back in.
Yeah. So, because they're like, you can go out and eat, but then you have to wait back in line to get back in.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's just the pent-up demand that we've been seeing here.
Yeah. But it's been good. There's been some good dealers. They're taking deals. Prices aren't too bad. So.
Yeah, the dealers have been really flexible. I've been able to get some good bargains with them, and I think both parties are happy. So
yeah,
that's awesome.
So it's been good.
We're done with the show. Forrest and I had a great time. There were a lot of dealers there. Some familiar faces. We have a number of LCSs that were represented there, so we got to hang out and talk with them briefly because it was damn packed, and there are people everywhere. It started to ramp up about 45 minutes into the show. It was just insane, the number of people that were showing up, to the point where they finally had to stop taking new people in until people left. They had reached capacity for the venue. And it was very amicable. I mean, everyone was polite. Everyone was willing to move over to let you look through a long box. So as usual, this community is so well receiving and so friendly. So that was never an issue, trying to get through the different dealers. In terms of what was on the walls, which is the first thing that I always look at, there was less slabs out there than there usually are, at least for my recollection. The last few shows I've been to, there's been maybe not 50-50 distribution on wall space, but there were a significant number of slabs typically, and this time there were maybe 6-7 slabs per dealer on the wall, maybe 8. Most of them were raw books, which I think is indicative of the issues that CGC is having right now in terms of getting books through the grading process. So it was a lot of fun. We ended up getting a lot of good books. As far as pricing goes, I've got some books that I priced here at the show, and when I get home, I'll do some comparisons. But my first take is the pricing was fairly consistent, if a little bit lower than what you would see normally online. Didn't see any of the real price gouging, except for maybe one dealer. And of course, there's always room for negotiation. Somebody has a book for $7,000. They'll typically will give you some room, some latitude for negotiation. As far as keys, I'll go through the books that I acquired, and we'll do that when I'm home. But I just wanted to film this, my initial impressions of the show. It was a great show, really good turnout. I saw some fellow YouTubers there as well, so definitely it bodes well for the convention scene in the coming months. If there's this much demand, then hopefully we'll see more conventions here in the short term.
Richard, I'm jealous.
I don't blame you. I get to go outside in the sun and get to interact with it. It was fun.
Well, thank you for that. And it's going to be interesting because San Diego Comic-Con obviously has been canceled for July, but they have announced they're going to have what they're calling a smaller convention in November. So come on out. We'd love to have you.
I would love to do another California Comic-Con. That it was so much fun. I got to meet so many great people there in California. That was 2 years ago, almost 2 years ago.
Yeah. No, it was last year.
Was it last year?
It was 2020. It was January 2020.
That's right.
Yeah.
A lot of fun. I enjoyed that. It was worth the trip out. Got my Fantastic Four #5 during that trip. So I want to do that again. Regardless of STCC or whatever happens there, I want to do California Comic-Con again. Terry, I hope you're listening to me.
Yes, Terry, please have another one. More importantly, you got to try In-N-Out.
Yes, I did. I got to try In-N-Out burger. So
it was delicious. So here's a picture of us enjoying our In-N-Out. All right, let's move on to our next segment, which is as we go into the mists of time back to 1996, 25 years ago, that 25-year rule. When nostalgia kicks in, it is the 25-year rule. 1996, Lois and Clark is in its 4th season, and they decide to get married on the show. Superman and Lois Lane finally hitching the knot. Is that what you call it? Tying the knot? Getting hitched? Tying the knot? I don't know. I'm married and I don't even know.
Tying the wedding bells, or
ringing the knots and tying the bells. So it was decided that they should do so in the comic books as well. Kind of a controversial decision, much like Peter Parker and Mary Jane Watson. So they released Superman, the Wedding Album. It was a one-shot special with a beautiful John Byrne cover. This came in 4 different versions: a direct version, a newsstand version, a collector's edition, which was very much like Superman 75 or Adventures of Superman 500, so beware, and a DC Universe variant. You know what the DC Universe variants are?
Yeah. We need to talk about that at some point.
Yeah, we'll hit those DC Universe variants. Mm-hmm. It was just the wedding of Lois and Clark. This book, for being the milestone that it was, you can still pretty much get it for cover price. It's not that in demand. A 9.8 slab of the collector's edition sold last month for a whopping $54, but the marriage lasted a long time in the comics.
Oh, really?
Yeah, well, the show was canceled after that season, but the marriage lasted, I think, all the way up to the New 52, right? Wow. So it was, a pretty much Peter Parker, Mary Jane thing, where this thing that they did, and because of outside media, lasted almost 20 years, and it was significant. But for some reason, Superman's wedding doesn't have the same cachet that Spider-Man's wedding had.
Or Batman's wedding,
Batman's married?
No, he was going to be married, and then Selena Kyle.
Oh, okay. Yeah, great. So there you go. Superman and Lois, wedded bliss no longer. Let's move on to our underrated books of the week. Richard, go for it.
My pick this week is a book called Irredeemable #1. First of all, I love that title, Irredeemable. You can't come back from the state you are in. You are irredeemable. This was a Boom Comics book from 2009. It's got a Mark Waid story, Peter Krause art. It is a interesting story. This is one of those books that I was turned on, I believe, by our mutual friend Evan back in the day. And I read the first issue of this, and I was hooked. And I read the series. The premise is, this is from Mark Waid himself. This is from Wikipedia. What if you go from Captain America to Doctor Doom? What if you go from Superman to Lex Luthor? How do you go from being the greatest hero in the world, someone everybody knows and everybody loves and everybody recognizes, to the greatest villain in the world? What is that path? It's not a light switch. It's not an on-off switch. It's not something you wake up one day and just become evil. So it is the conversion of Superman, basically, to an evil version of Superman. He kills millions and millions of people. He goes on a rampage. He's this superhero originally called the Plutonian, which I love that name. That is like such an awesome superhero name.
It's better than the Uranian.
The Irradiant, yes. The book is all about the rest of him and the rest of the world coping with this change. What caused the change? He had some superhero compatriots who he goes in a rampage killing, and they're trying to stop him. It's a really interesting book. I say it reminds me a lot of Miracle Man in terms of that, absolute power corrupts absolutely kind of feel, or the Boys, or if you've seen the movie Brightburn, it's kind of like an interpretation of that movie. The books itself started in 2009. It ran for 20 issues the first run. It's really not very well represented in the census. It's less than, there are a number of variants. This book was a pretty popular book at the time when it came out. In 2016, they were talking about making a movie out of it. Fox announced movie plans for this. But there are less than 100 copies on the census for CGC. And you could pick up a 9.8 for about $100. So it's not necessarily, even with that kind of interest, not really that expensive. As a matter of fact, right now, as the last I saw in April of 2020, Netflix was doing what they call a first look for Boom titles. And this is one of the books that they are looking at to determine, are they going to option this property? So potentially this could actually go from, if they option it, can go from $100 for a 9.8 to a couple $100. You never know. But it's a really interesting story if you like these what if kinds of scenarios where superheroes just unleash upon the lesser mortals that are around them. At one point, he sinks the entire island of Shanghai because he thought they were afraid of him. So we'll just get rid of them as an issue. Yeah, it's that kind of brutal destruction. But it's definitely an interesting read. So there's an omnibus coming out for this, and as well as a collected series of collected works. It's definitely something, if you have an opportunity to pick it up, read it. It's a good read. Is it a good spec? Potentially. If Netflix does something with Boom properties, now's the time to buy it. Well, that's $100 for a 9.8.
I love Mark Waid. I mean, we mentioned earlier Ron Garney. Mark Waid and Ron Garney were the team on Captain America. They had that great run right before Heroes Reborn back in the 90s. So Mark Waid is pretty much hitting it out of the park every time. I have not read Irredeemable because I saw it and I thought, oh, Supreme, I've read this. But, I will give it a shot because it does sound slightly different than Supreme. Not slightly, very different. Supreme doesn't become a villain. So yeah, I will check this out. My book this week is Totally Awesome Hulk number 15. This is the first team appearance of the Protectors. Not only do you have Totally Awesome Hulk Amadeus Cho, you have Jimmy Woo, Shang-Chi, Silk, and Jake O. The Protectors. Who are the Protectors? You might know them better as the New Agents of Atlas. Yes, this was before New Agents of Atlas when all of them got together and they became a team called the Protectors. Now, this book is just completely slipped under the radar. There are 4 different variant covers for this. Only 6 9.8s of the A cover are on the census. I love that A cover, though. It's amazing. Yeah. It's so good. The Sing 1 in 25 variant cover shows the entire team. So that is the first cover appearance of that team. A 9.8 of that 1 in 25 variant just sold for $293 last month. So someone knows what's up and they're stocking up on it. The Sing cover, that 1 in 25, there's only 13 9.8s of that on the census so far. Now, the good news, the regular A cover is still cheap and a steal. as of today. I don't know.
I love the A cover. That heroic pose that Amadeus Cho does, and it's just a really good cover if you want to highlight the different members of the team.
That cover makes you smile because that's like a kid that gets superpowers, doing that pose kind of like a selfie wink. Like, he's not taking himself too seriously. Look how awesome I am. So I love that cover. We've been hot on New Agents of Atlas on this podcast. We're not going to stop anytime soon. So if you don't have a totally awesome Hulk number 15, if you go to a convention like Richard, I'm so jealous. Maybe you'll find one in a dollar box somewhere before it blows up. Well, thanks, Richard, for that report. Thank you guys for listening. If you are not subscribed yet, why don't you do so? Hit us with a like here and a subscribe. If you're listening on your favorite podcast platform, give us a review and rate us, and visit us at Bronze and Modern Gods on Facebook and Instagram. Right, Richard?
Right, John.
All right. We'll see you next time.
Everybody stay safe.
Au revoir.